What if the person you loved most never forgot you, but you believe they abandoned you? Ronan Whitaker, Houston's most powerful shipping billionaire, has written letters for 15 years to a woman who vanished without a trace. Imani Bell, a grief counselor hiding from her past, believes the man she loved never came for her. When fate forces them back into the same room, old wounds tear open and buried secrets surface. Some truths are worth waiting for. Some love survives, even silence. This is Letters Never Delivered, a story of lost love, hidden betrayal, and second chances. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. The conference room felt too small for the weight of silence filling it. Ronan Whitaker stood at the floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the port of Houston, watching cargo ships glide through murky water like ghosts. His assistant had left the room 3 minutes ago, and he still hadn't moved. The therapist hired for his mental health program was late. He checked his watch. 9:47 a.m. Irritation flickered across his face, then died. Ronan had learned patience the hard way, 15 years of it, to be exact. 15 years of unanswered letters. 15 years of searching crowds for a face that never appeared. The door opened. "Mr. Whitaker, I apologize for the delay. Traffic on I-10 was." Ronan turned. The woman froze mid-sentence. He knew those eyes. God help him, he knew those eyes. Brown with flecks of amber that caught the light when she was happy, though right now they were wide with something that looked like fear. Her hair was different, shorter, more professional, and she wore glasses now, but the curve of her jaw, the way she held herself like she was bracing for impact, that was all familiar. Imani. She took a step back, hand still on the door handle. Her briefcase hit the floor with a dull thud. "Ms. Bell," she said, voice stripped of emotion. "Imani Bell. I'm the grief counselor you hired for the Port Workers Families Program." Bell. Not Brooks anymore. The name she'd had when they were young and stupid and convinced the world couldn't touch them. "You're married?" The question escaped before he could stop it. "Widowed." She bent to retrieve her briefcase, using the movement to avoid his eyes. "Should we reschedule this meeting? You seem unprepared." Unprepared. 15 years of imagining this moment, and she thought he was unprepared. "Sit down." His voice came out harder than intended. "Please." Imani remained standing. "I think there's been a mistake. I didn't realize you were the Whitaker funding this program. If I'd known, you would have turned down the job?" "Yes." The word landed like a slap. Ronan moved away from the window, giving her space. "Why?" She laughed, and it was the saddest sound he'd ever heard. "You're really going to ask me that? After everything?" "After everything?" Ronan felt something crack inside his chest. "You vanished. I went to your house, and you were gone. No note. No explanation. Nothing. Nothing." Imani's composure finally broke. "You want to talk about nothing? I waited for you, Ronan. I waited for days after my mother died, thinking you'd come. And you never did." "Your mother," he stopped. "What are you talking about?" "I came the day after you called. The house was empty. Neighbors said your family moved in the middle of the night. I called you. The morning after your mother passed. You were crying so hard I could barely understand you." Imani shook her head slowly. "I never called you. My stepfather took my phone that night. He said you didn't want to be involved in our family drama. That you told him to tell me it was over." The room tilted. Ronan gripped the back of a chair. "Leonard told you I said that." "Don't." Her voice cracked. "Don't pretend you don't remember. I was 19 and my mother was dead, and the person I loved most in the world couldn't even face me to break it off. I wrote you letters." The words tumbled out desperately. Hundreds of them. Every week for the first year, then every month. They all came back unopened or disappeared completely. "I hired investigators. They said you'd moved out of state, that you didn't want to be found." Imani's face went pale. "You're lying. I have every single one. In my office. Sealed, dated, untouched." She sank into the chair she'd been refusing. Her hands trembled as she set down her briefcase. "This doesn't make sense," Leonard said. She stopped, and something shifted behind her eyes. Fear. Recognition. "Oh God. What did he do, Imani?" She stood abruptly. "I need to leave. This was a mistake. Find another counselor." "Wait." "No." She was already at the door. "You don't understand. If Leonard finds out I saw you, if he knows we talked, he can't hurt you anymore. Whatever he did. You have no idea what he's capable of." Imani's hand shook on the door handle. "Stay away from me, Ronan. I mean it. Some things are better left buried. She was gone before he could respond. Ronan stood alone in the conference room, heart hammering against his ribs. After 15 years of silence, 5 minutes had torn open every wound he'd thought had healed. And now he knew. Something terrible had happened. Something Leonard Bell had orchestrated. He pulled out his phone and dialed his sister. Celia, I need you to dig into someone. Leonard Bell. I want to know everything. Where he worked, who he knew, every skeleton in every closet. Ronan? What's going on? Just do it. And be careful. I think he's dangerous. 3 days passed before Ronan saw Imani again. She showed up at his office unannounced at 7 p.m., when most of the building was empty. His secretary had gone home, so when the private elevator opened, it was just the two of them. She looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She was holding a manila folder. Show me, she said without preamble. Show me the letters. Ronan didn't ask questions. He led her through the executive suite to his private office, then to the wall safe behind his desk. The box was simple, dark wood, brass hinges. He'd kept it for so long it felt like part of him. He set it on the desk between them. Imani stared at it like it might explode. How many? 147. Her breath hitched. That's more than one a month for 12 years. I stopped when I accepted you weren't coming back. That you'd moved on. But I couldn't throw them away. Imani reached out, then pulled her hand back. I don't know if I can read them. You don't have to. But I need you to know they exist. I need you to know I never stopped looking for you. Why? The question was barely a whisper. Why would you do that? We were kids. People move on. I couldn't. Ronan met her eyes. I tried. God knows I tried. But every woman I met, every relationship I attempted, it all felt like betraying something. Like giving up on you meant giving up on the only real thing I'd ever had. Imani's eyes glistened. You should have given up. You should have found someone who could love you back. You did love me. Past tense, Ronan. He flinched, but didn't look away. Fair enough. What's in the folder? She set it on the desk next to the box of letters. I went through my mother's things. Papers Leonard kept in storage after she died. I've been too scared to look at them for years, but after what you said. She opened the folder with shaking hands. These are bank statements from the month before she died. Large deposits from Gulfstream Logistics. Your company. That's impossible. We didn't have contracts in Houston 15 years ago. Look at the signature on the transfer authorizations. Ronan pulled the papers closer. His blood ran cold. The signature was supposed to be his father's, but it was forged. Badly. And the deposits corresponded with shipment manifests that didn't exist in their official records. Leonard was embezzling, he said slowly. Using my family's company to launder money through your mother's account. She must have found out. Imani's voice broke. The medical examiner said it was a heart attack, but she was only 41. She was healthy. And the day before she died, I heard her on the phone with Leonard. She was telling him she was going to the police. Imani. He killed her. The words came out flat, emotionless. Shock. My stepfather killed my mother, and then he made sure you and I could never find each other because you would have asked questions. You would have investigated. Ronan came around the desk and pulled her into his arms. For a moment, she resisted, then she collapsed against him, silent sobs shaking her shoulders. He held her the way he'd wanted to 15 years ago, when the world fell apart, and someone told him she didn't want to be found. I'm so sorry, he whispered into her hair. I should have looked harder. I should have known something was wrong. You couldn't have known. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. Leonard's been controlling my life since I was 19. He moved me to Dallas, found me a respectable husband, an older man who wouldn't ask questions about my past. When Thomas died 2 years ago, Leonard convinced me to come back to Houston, to be close to family. I thought he'd changed. I thought he actually cared. He wanted to keep you under surveillance. Make sure you never found out the truth. I've been so stupid. No. Ronan gripped her shoulders. You survived. You built a life despite everything he did. That's not stupid. That's extraordinary. Imani looked up at him, and for the first time since she'd walked back into his life, he saw something other than pain in her eyes. Hope. Fragile and terrified, but there. What do we do now, she asked. We expose him. We make sure he can never hurt anyone again. He's dangerous, Ronan. If he finds out we know. Let me worry about that. I have resources. Protection. And my sister is one of the best investigative journalists in Texas. If there's evidence, she'll find it. Imani nodded slowly. Then she looked at the box of letters. Can I take one? Just one. I need to know what you were saying all those years. Ronan opened the box and pulled out the first letter. The ink had faded slightly, but his handwriting was still clear. Young and desperate and full of longing. This is the one I wrote the night you disappeared, he said, handing it to her. She took it carefully, like it might dissolve in her hands. I'll read it tonight. Imani. He caught her hand before she could leave. Whatever happens with Leonard, whatever we find, I want you to know I don't expect anything from you. I'm not trying to reclaim the past or force you into something you don't want. I just want you safe. She squeezed his hand. I know. That's what scares me. What does? That you still see me the way you did when we were kids. I'm not that girl anymore, Ronan. Life made me hard. Grief made me numb. I don't know if I can feel the way I used to. Then we'll figure it out together. Or we won't. But at least let me stand beside you while we deal with Leonard. Imani studied his face for a long moment. Then she leaned up and kissed his cheek. Soft, brief, devastating. Thank you for not forgetting me. She was gone before he could respond. Celia Whitaker burst into Ronan's office the next morning without knocking, laptop under one arm and a wild look in her eyes. You're not going to believe what I found. She slammed the laptop on his desk. Leonard Bell isn't just a small-time embezzler. He's been running fraudulent port contracts for over 20 years. Ghost companies, fake manifests, bribery up the chain. And get this, 3 people who were about to testify against him in the early 2000s all died under suspicious circumstances. Ronan's blood ran cold. Imani's mother was one of them. The other 2 were port inspectors. 1 car accident, 1 apparent suicide, 1 heart attack. All within 6 months of each other. We need to get this to the police. Already did. Contacted a friend at the FBI White-Collar Crime Division. They've been building a case against Leonard for months, but couldn't get enough evidence. Until now. Celia grinned fiercely. The bank statements Imani found. Those fill in the missing piece. They can move on him. When? They want to coordinate with local police. Probably 48 hours. That gives him time to run. Not if he doesn't know we're coming. Celia's expression turned serious. Ronan, where's Imani right now? At work. What? Because Leonard's been watching her. I pulled traffic cam footage near her apartment. He drove by 4 times last week. Ice flooded Ronan's veins. We need to get her somewhere safe. Already on it. I've got a friend with a secure location in West University. No one knows about it except us. Ronan was already grabbing his keys. Call her. Tell her to meet me at the clinic. I'm bringing her to the safe house myself. Ronan, don't argue with me on this. If anything happens to her because I didn't move fast enough, his voice cracked. I can't lose her again. Celia squeezed his arm. Then go. I'll coordinate with the FBI. Imani was in the middle of a session when Ronan arrived at the clinic. The receptionist tried to stop him, but one look at his face made her step aside. He waited in the hallway, pacing like a caged animal, until Imani's door opened and a middle-aged woman emerged, dabbing her eyes. Imani appeared in the doorway, confused. Ronan? What's wrong? We need to leave. Now. I have 3 more appointments. Cancel them. Leonard's been following you. My sister found evidence he's behind multiple murders. The FBI is moving on him in 2 days, but until then, you're not safe. The color drained from Imani's face. Murders? How many? At least 3. Your mother, 2 port inspectors. All people who knew about his fraud schemes. Imani swayed. Ronan caught her, steadying her against him. He killed my mother, she whispered. I knew it, but hearing it confirmed. I know. I'm sorry. But right now, we need to focus on keeping you alive. I have a safe house. My sister's arranging everything. Please, Imani. Trust me. She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. I read your letter. The first one. Now's not the time. You wrote, wherever you are, I'm still yours. I'll wait as long as it takes. Her voice broke. You actually meant it. Every word. He cupped her face gently. And I meant what I said yesterday. I don't expect anything from you. I just want you safe. What if I want to expect something from you? His heart stopped. Imani, what if I want to try? Not because of the past, but because of who you are now. What if I want to see if we can build something new? Then we will. He kissed her forehead. But first, we survive this. Deal. Deal. The safe house was a small cottage behind a larger estate, hidden by oak trees and a tall fence. Celia had stocked it with groceries, clothes, and enough security equipment to monitor every approach. Ronan walked through the perimeter twice before he was satisfied. Imani sat on the couch, letterbox beside her. She'd insisted on bringing all of them. Are you going to read them? Ronan asked, sitting across from her. I don't know. Part of me wants to. Part of me is terrified. Terrified of what? Of how much you loved me. Of how much I threw away by believing Leonard's lies. She pulled out a letter at random, dated 3 years after she'd left. What if I can't live up to the version of me you were writing to? You're not supposed to live up to anything, Imani. Those letters were me processing grief, holding on to hope. They weren't demands or expectations. She opened the letter carefully. Her eyes moved across the page, and tears began to fall. You wrote about the first time we met, she said softly. At the community center. You were volunteering for a basketball program, and I was helping with the after-school reading club. You said I smiled at you, and you knew your life had just changed. It did change. You made me want to be better, to build something worth having so I could give you the life you deserved. I didn't need a billionaire, Ronan. I just needed you. I know that now. But back then, I was a 20-year-old kid from old money who thought providing meant proving. I got it wrong. Imani set down the letter and moved to sit beside him. Tell me something true. Right now? Not from memory, not from the past. Tell me something real about who you are today. Ronan thought for a moment. I'm terrified that even if we catch Leonard, you'll still disappear. That this is temporary. That I'm living on borrowed time before you realize you're better off without the baggage I represent. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Doesn't make it less true. She took his hand, threading her fingers through his. I'm terrified too. I'm terrified that I'm so broken from everything Leonard did, from losing my mother, from a loveless marriage, that I won't know how to let you in. That I'll hurt you trying to protect myself. Then we'll be terrified together. She laughed, and it was the first genuine laugh he'd heard from her. That's a terrible foundation for a relationship. Good thing we're not starting one yet. We're just surviving first. Relationship comes after we deal with Leonard. And then we take it one day at a time. No expectations. No pressure. Just two people who used to love each other figuring out if they still can. Imani leaned her head on his shoulder. I can work with that. They sat in silence as darkness fell outside. Somewhere in Houston, Leonard Bell was continuing his life, unaware that the walls were closing in. Somewhere, FBI agents were finalizing their case. But in the safe house, surrounded by letters that had waited 15 years to be read, two people who'd lost each other began the slow, painful work of finding their way back. The call came at 3 a.m. Ronan's phone buzzed on the nightstand, and he answered before the second ring. He'd been sleeping in the guest room, door open, listening for any sign of danger. It's Celia. Leonard knows. Ronan was on his feet instantly. How? Someone at the FBI leaked information. Leonard's attorney called an hour ago demanding to see the evidence. He's preparing to run. Where's Imani? In the main bedroom. Is she secure? I'm checking now. Ronan moved down the hallway. The bedroom door was closed. He knocked softly. Imani. No answer. His heart rate spiked. Imani. He tried the handle, locked. Imani, if you can't hear me, answer. Still nothing. Ronan stepped back and kicked the door. It splintered open. The bed was empty. The window was open, curtains fluttering in the night breeze. She's gone. Panic clawed at his throat. Celia, she's gone. What do you mean gone? How? He looked around frantically and saw a note on the pillow. His hands shook as he picked it up. Asterisk, I'm sorry. I have to end this myself. Leonard has controlled my life for too long. If the FBI takes him, I'll never be free of wondering if he'll find a way out. If he'll come back. I need to face him. To make him confess. Don't follow me. I have to do this alone. I asterisk. No, no, no. Ronan was already grabbing his jacket. She went to confront Leonard herself. Ronan, that's insane. He's killed people. I know. That's why I'm going after her. Where does Leonard live? Memorial area. But you can't just. Text me the address. And call the police. Tell them everything. He hung up and ran for his car. The drive to Memorial felt like it took hours instead of 20 minutes. His mind raced with every terrible possibility. Imani confronting Leonard. Leonard realizing she knew. Leonard doing what he'd done to 3 other people who threatened to expose him. The address was a gated community. Ronan drove through the entrance behind another car before the gate closed, security waving him through without checking. Leonard's house was at the end of a cul-de-sac, lights blazing in every window. Ronan parked and ran for the front door. It was unlocked. Inside, he heard voices. Leonard's smooth, practiced tone. And Imani's, steady but frightened. "You killed her for money," Imani was saying. "Your own wife." "My mother." It was business. Leonard sounded almost bored. She was going to ruin everything. 20 years of careful planning, destroyed because she suddenly developed a conscience. She was going to turn you in. She was going to send me to prison. I couldn't allow that. Ronan moved toward the voices. They were in the study. Through the cracked door, he could see Imani standing near the desk, hands at her sides. Leonard sat in a leather chair, drink in hand, looking relaxed. Too relaxed. "You separated me from Ronan," Imani said. "You forged letters. You controlled my entire life. I protected you." Leonard's voice turned sharp. "That boy would have asked questions. He would have investigated. I did what I had to do to keep you safe." "Safe?" Imani's voice cracked. "You murdered my mother and then gaslit me for 15 years. That's not protection. That's control." "Same thing, really." Leonard stood, setting down his glass. "And now you've brought him back into your life. Very disappointing, Imani. I thought you were smarter than this." Ronan saw Leonard's hand move toward his jacket. "Gun." He burst through the door. "Step away from her." Leonard's hand froze. He smiled coldly. "Mr. Whitaker. Right on time. I was wondering when you'd show up." "Police are on their way," Ronan said, moving to stand beside Imani. "Whatever you're planning, it's over." "Is it?" Leonard pulled out a phone instead of a gun. "I have a plane waiting at Hobby Airport. I'll be in a non-extradition country before your FBI friends finish their paperwork. But first, I need to tie up loose ends." He pressed something on his phone. The house alarm started blaring. But it wasn't an alarm, it was gas. Ronan smelled it immediately. Natural gas flooding the vents. "What did you do?" Imani gasped. "Bought myself 30 seconds. Leonard headed for the door. "The house will explode in 5 minutes. Plenty of time for me to leave, not enough for you to escape." The great Ronan Whitaker and my stepdaughter, tragic victims of a gas leak. Very sad. He was gone before Ronan could stop him. Imani grabbed Ronan's arm. "We need to get out." They ran for the front door. Locked. Leonard had engaged some kind of security system. Every door and window was sealed tight. "There has to be an override," Ronan said, pulling out his phone. "Celia, we're trapped in Leonard's house. He rigged it to explode. We need emergency services now." "Already on their way," Celia said. "Fire department is 2 minutes out." "We don't have 2 minutes." The gas smell was getting stronger. Ronan's eyes were burning. Imani pulled him toward the kitchen. "The garage. There's usually an internal release." They found the garage door, but it was the same system, locked. Ronan looked around desperately and spotted a wrench on a workbench. He grabbed it and smashed the small window in the garage door. The glass shattered and fresh air rushed in. "Climb through," he shouted. Imani hesitated. "It's too small. You go first." "Not happening." "Move." She climbed through, Ronan helping her. Glass cut her arms, but she made it to the other side. Ronan followed, squeezing through just as he heard sirens approaching. They ran down the driveway. Behind them, Leonard's house exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the night sky. The shockwave knocked them both to the ground. Ronan covered Imani with his body, shielding her from debris. When the noise finally stopped, he rolled off her. "Are you hurt?" She was crying. "He tried to kill us. He tried to kill us and just walked away. He won't get far." Ronan helped her stand as fire trucks and police cars flooded the street. Celia said the FBI has the airports covered. "He's not getting out of Houston." A police officer approached. "Sir, ma'am, are you injured?" "We need to sit down," Ronan said. "And we need to give statements. Leonard Bell tried to murder us. He confessed to killing Imani's mother and 2 others. And he's trying to flee the country." The officer's radio crackled. "All units, suspect apprehended at Hobby Airport attempting to board private aircraft. Leonard Bell is in custody." Imani collapsed against Ronan, sobbing. He held her while the house burned behind them, while police took preliminary statements, while paramedics checked them for injuries. He held her through all of it, whispering that it was over, that she was safe, that Leonard would never hurt anyone again. 2 weeks later, Ronan and Imani sat on a bench in Hermon Park, watching the sun set over the Houston skyline. Leonard was being held without bail, facing 3 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. The evidence was overwhelming. He'd confessed everything to Imani in that study, and Ronan's phone had recorded it all. Imani leaned against Ronan's shoulder. I testified today, at the grand jury. How did it feel? Like closing a door. Like finally, after 16 years, I get to walk away from him. That's good. I've been thinking about your letters. You don't have to read them all. I know some of them are a lot. I want to. She looked up at him. But I want to write you one first. A new one. About who I am now, who I want to become. So we're starting even. Ronan smiled. I'd like that. And then maybe we can try. Actually try. No more baggage. No more looking backward. Just forward. Forward sounds perfect. Imani reached into her bag and pulled out one of his old letters. The last one. The one he'd written 12 years ago before he'd finally stopped. I read this one last night. You wrote, I'm letting you go because holding on is killing me. But I'll never stop loving who you were, who we were together. Some love doesn't fade. It just waits. I meant that. I know. She tore the letter in half. And now I'm letting it go. Because I don't want the love that waited. I want the love that happens now. Today. Tomorrow. Every day after. Ronan took the torn pieces and held them for a moment. Then he let them fall, watching the wind catch them and carry them away over the park. Deal. She kissed him, and it was nothing like their first kiss when they were kids. It was better, sadder and wiser and more real. It tasted like grief and healing and hope all mixed together. When they pulled apart, Imani smiled. So what do we do now? Now. Ronan stood and offered his hand. Now we go live our lives. Together. Finally. She took his hand and let him pull her up. They walked through the park as darkness fell, 2 people who'd lost 15 years finding their way back to each other one step at a time. Some love survived silence. Theirs survived 15 years, betrayal, and murder. And now, free from the past, they could finally write their own ending. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment telling us what you think about Ronan and Imani's journey, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another powerful story of love, loss, and second chances. Your support means everything. Hit that notification bell and join our community. Thank you for watching.